I just want to ask a question. I know I asked this last week. So none of this goes into effect until the facility is built, up and going, correct?
Correct, yeah, they can't, the TGT is the increment, so they don't get increment till everything's set in place and the appraiser comes out and then does a final appraisal and then the assessor assesses
And
taxes.
there's really no risk to us. I mean, it's pay as we go. So, I mean, it should be, like you said very well last week, it should be a win-win for the community. So, I think it's
Everybody's really excited about this. I have not heard one negative word about us doing anything with this, with prospects. A $19 million investment in this community is pretty exciting for us right now.
People remember us losing a truck stop a couple years ago, and the system in place at the time did not work. This system that we've worked on now and kind of tweaked for the last couple of years has been flawless. It's been everything ready to come to us as the developer did. If this thing would have been, if things were in place 2 years ago like they are now, we would have a truck stop out on exit 157. I hate to keep bringing that up, but that's what people are talking about around town, and they really do want a truck stop, and I hope that somebody comes in and relooks at this process and how easy it is. But at the same time too, looking at the figures, I don't remember exactly what the figures were, but I think that what we offered the people at the truck stop was more than this with a project about the same size, and they ended up walking away from the table. So this is a good deal for the city, it's a good deal for the developer. This is gonna bring people to Hayes, and we're gonna make sales tax off of it. It'll be another venue to have events around town, and people like to come to Hayes. It's gonna give them a place to stay and do their events, so that's really all I've got.
I think the economic development policy and team that put it together really did outstanding work, and that's what makes everything work. That policy is like you said, flawless, and I think it worked really well in this situation. I agree.
I guess in my mind, I have to think back to, you know, even before I was on the commission, you know, there was a plan out there for the city to construct, build, and manage and maintain a convention center north of I-70. And that would have been financed by basically an additional tax on a lot of the retail on the north side of I-70. So a lot of people who mostly, you know, are people who live in our city and also people who come to our city to shop would have been financing that. And I don't remember any of the numbers, but if you look at the expected transit gas tax over 10 years, you're looking at less than $200,000 per year that we would be rebating back to them. And keeping in mind that that money is coming from the people who are staying on the property. I don't know. It's just, you look at that compared to the previous plan, which would have placed the burden on the general taxpayer at that time. Not to mention then the city would have, if that was just to build it, then the city still would have been responsible for running it and maintaining it, and would have cost probably a lot more than $200,000 a year. I'm for sure about that. So, you know, this is a way to get all of the benefits without having to build it, maintain it, run it. So that's somebody else's problem. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't know, the TIF I think the one area is maybe the TIF district, but you know, even that, you can still see that, you know, at least the schools are getting their capital outlay portion and things like that. So I think overall there's a lot more here for us to gain than to lose, for sure. Yeah, I do think that it's going to be a win-win.
I've also had, as I mentioned last week, businesses, other hotels, say how they realize what it's going to do for them having a convention center. It doesn't mean everybody's going to stay at that hotel. I know they probably want them to, but there's going to be more people come. So like you said, I think it's a win-win, and I'm excited. I hope it all goes through sooner than later.
Well, and I think also one thing, I don't know if you add this too, but they were asking, you know, well, what happens when the next hotel comes in and wants that? Well,
Right.
What are they bringing?
Yeah.
Are you just building a hotel, or are you bringing something else? I think that's a pretty easy conversation to have.